So you have a lot of buyers coming into our city who aren't selling product. And when it was in the peak, we would have people from Ontario say to us, yeah, you know what, like, this is so cheap, I don't really care. Like I know there's like 15 offers on this place and it's listed at 700. Let's just put in one for 8, like, whatever.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tom Storey Show. We are back to doing this virtually. Unfortunately, Steve is no longer in Toronto. I know he's sad about it every single day because he realizes
Fortunately, I'm back home.
Living on the wrong side of Canada. We are very excited
You got two Westerners on here, man.
Well, that's what I was getting at. And actually, the podcast has been West heavy the last little while.
That's right.
Vancouver.
That's why it's doing so bad. Hey, Tom.
That's why our views are down. So that brings me to our guest for this week's podcast, Jared Chamberlain. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be on here and chat about whatever. I tried asking for what we're talking about, and you said no.
Yeah, we don't tell anyone.
We refuse plans.
We don't like people knowing what they're going to say. We just rather you come on and chat and we see what happens. So Jared, give the viewers and listeners a bit of background here. Just kind of like years in real estate, the market that you service, what the team structure is like. Give us kind of the background of who you are.
Sure. So we've been in real estate since about 2004, 2005. My wife and I have been doing everything together the whole time. So Rebecca and myself, and the journey that we went through was basically doing just us, hiring an assistant, figuring it out. 2009, we found out we're having a first child, and we're like, ooh, how do we do this? So then we started leaning into this team stuff. And don't tell your wife when she's 8 months pregnant that you don't want to do real estate anymore. That doesn't end well. So bad conversation. But what that led into is not doing real estate in terms of like transactions and just running around and being crazy. And that's what I didn't want to do. So it led into looking at teams and figuring this out, and doing a ton of coaching over the years. And we're 3 Max Royal LePage. 2018, we opened our own independent brokerage. And then in June of 2022, this year, we actually moved over into real brokerage.
Which is taking off, by the way, like everywhere right now.
Which it really is. Yeah, it's been great. And we had our specific reasons why it has really helped us move from that independent, because you kind of have your name on a building and it's your thing. And there's a lot of ego attached to that, which there's a lot of in this industry. And we had to look at that and say, what's more important? And we had to make those decisions, and it's been fantastic for our own life and what we're doing. So our team right now is everybody involved. There's about 30 of us, and there's about 19 or 20 agents on the team. And we do Calgary and area, so all the surrounding cities around here.
You know, when you were saying that, so I've brought this up a few times on the podcast, but I have been very clear in my stance that I don't believe the disruptors of real estate are the companies selling leads to you or the discount brokerage. I think they're the mega teams. Like that's my opinion, because I look at who's taking up the most market share. I mean, you were kind of building the team structure even before it was like cool to have a team. Look at what everyone's calling themselves a group these days. It's like them and their photographer, right? But
and the lawyer and the accountant that they just put on the website. Yeah,
exactly. So
sorry, I shouldn't mock. I'm not mocking, because I did it too. Because
that's not necessarily. Bigger, right? That's not necessarily mocking. Actually, that's something in BC. I know our last episode was all BC related, but I won't harp on it. Yeah. But that's what they're coming after next. So BC is coming after individual agents that try and position themselves as if they are multiple licensed teams, and that's one of the first things. So they are going hard at people to say, like, if your stager is part of your team and your administrator is part of your team, you're not a team.
Yeah. So interesting. So you can't actually use those verbiage inside of like from the provincial board.
Correct.
BC's new slogan should be like, if it can be regulated, it will be regulated.
That's what we're doing.
I think it'll go good. It'll go far. It'll go far. A lot of people will just continue to move there and make it happen. So it's good.
So the team structure and we'll get into the market here in a second, but I'm just curious, like, as you were building this out, now the way you explained it before is like, okay, kid was coming, trying to figure out how to not run around like a chicken with his head cut off. I think we've all been through that part of a real estate career where you're just feeling burnt out. What's your day-to-day looking like now?
I still am feeling burnt out.
You still are, just in a different way.
In a different way.
What does it look like now? Like, what's the day-to-day of running a 20-person sales team, a 10-person staff? That's got to be exhausting as well, no?
Yeah, it has been. And I think the thing that we did, so again, we've gone through so many different coaching programs. We've taken all of the American ways of doing real estate, and you have to have your buyer agents and your seller agents, and you've gone through all of these renditions of what a team should look like. And I think what happened was a lot of people, when they go through those courses and coaching, they forget to look at who they are, and they forget to look at like figuring out themselves and how to apply that in their own life, and then be able to say, okay, this is who I am, this is what they're saying, this is how we need to do this, and it can't be like how XYZ coach is teaching me. And I know a lot of coaches say that, but most agents going through the programs don't do that. And so that's what we did. And we ended up stopping real estate coaching specific stuff in 2017. And I kind of started looking at going, who are the coaches of the coaches? And how do I just like learn to be better? Because if I want something in my future, I have to actually become that person that deserves what I'm wanting. And it's not just going to fall in my lap because I have a piece of paper that says, here's how it's supposed to be. And so through all of that, ended up being quite a journey. It was very hard. We had all of those team structures where it was really high splits for us. Agents made less, and we had to like flip it on its head. So we looked at the model and said, okay, in 2018 and 19 is when we dug into this, and we said, how would we structure this team so that we would be a part of it if we were selling houses and we would be happy with it? It doesn't matter what the structures are. We had to be happy with what that would be, and we would be a part of it and join it if it was out there. And so February 2020, we all know what happened in March. February 2020, we launched this whole thing. We had conversations with the team, all this good stuff, and COVID hit. And then we're like, oh gosh, what do we do? We just basically told the agents, you're making a lot more money. You have a lot more income. You're going to have more expenses. There's less expenses on our shoulders. There's more on you. We're going to build a better environment, all this kind of stuff. And we went from, I think in 2018, we were around about 200 and let's call it mid to low 200s. I don't remember the numbers right now in terms of transactions. And then the team totally morphed. We lost a lot of our team, but we literally doubled in size of the team. And it attracted agents that were much more hungry. They came with batteries. They wanted to actually grow a business instead of just looking like lead junkies. And it was like, this is kind of exciting. And that led to the problem that we had this year is and I know because of COVID and this and all this stuff that happened and the crazy market that's happened this year, specifically in Calgary and everywhere, but here too, we're like we used to be the dirty little oil brother for Canada. And now everyone's like, oh, you cleaned up a little bit. It's kind of nice. Who are you over there?
A glow up.
So it's weird. Yeah. And so through all of that, we ended up, I lost my train of thought there. I was so concerned about my dirty oil brother.
Was it people moving to Calgary?
Oh, this year. Yeah. So then this year, this spring, we did about 380 or 390 transactions last year in 2021. And we already did that amount of transactions in the first half of this year. And so we looked at it and said, we either need to bring on 2 or 3 more conveyancing on the back end because we're our own brokerage and we're spending more money on paperwork. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Or we look at trying to white label our conveyancing department and find a way. And that's why we moved to Real. That was solving our problem. It was a virtual brokerage that allowed us to basically just plug and play, keep doing what we're doing, but then offset and get rid of all that conveyancing that we had. And it's been fantastic. And so, yeah, so it's been a very interesting year.
So I got a question for you. What's in the water in Calgary? Because I've seen so many agents in Calgary that are so phenomenal at making content, like real estate, educational video content. You guys make the rest of the country look like we don't know what we're doing. Like I could think of many people I know in Calgary that are killing it, and you're one of them.
Right.
And then
all while doing like 300 deals each per year.
Right. Like they're not just famous on video, they're actually real agents that do business.
Yeah.
And then there's also the structure in Calgary of like, listen, the mega teams exist there more than they do in maybe other markets. So what's your thought on why are people so good at video in Calgary? And then why have the team structure worked so well there where it hasn't in the rest of Canada?
So I think where part of that comes from is, and I don't know where it comes from, but where I think some of it is it started with SEO. And it started with, well, 2 things. So the first thing is the SEO side. When we've been growing, so we've been very intentional with our organic side of our site and how to do it, and gaining leads and traction and all that kind of stuff. And because I got to the point where I'm like, I'm not playing this pay-per-click game against everybody else. This is ridiculous, because literally you're fighting against 3,000 agents, all paying the same, I don't want to say garbage websites, but garbage websites, and PPC is what's fueling them. And I'm tired of fighting with that. So how do we go play with the big boys and make this massive investment and time? And so when I started that, when I was bringing on certain SEO individuals to help with things, it was shocking how competitive Calgary was for real estate online. And so he said, my guy now that I have, he basically told me that pretty much every other city, like this is on the level of LA and New York competitiveness. And it's super strange that way. And but I also believe, and I feel like this is what people are finding now that they're starting to really understand what Calgary is. Calgary is extremely entrepreneurial, and we are very resourceful, and you see it everywhere you go if you're looking for it when you're here. And I actually think that might be a big part of it too, where it's just like, I don't know, I see that guy doing, I'm going to try it too. And it's just interesting that way. But when you start having some bigger players playing the game, you have to do something to kind of keep up and stand out. Because by us doing what we're doing, we are gaining market share. People are seeing us. People are relating to us. People are shocked that when they talk to me in person or on the phone, that I'm the same person in video that I am in real life. And that's sad to me, because that means they've met something else or whatever, or have expectations elsewhere. But again, marketing in my mind is, and this is what we say to our team all the time, is marketing is all about finishing the conversation that your client is having in their mind. And I think by doing what we're doing, it helps people to know us and then like us and then trust us. It's a know, like, trust funnel. People don't give a crap what you say or the knowledge that you have if they don't know you and they like you first. And video has allowed us to do the know, like, and trust funnel and actually transfer that trust out to the team, because we're super, super careful on who is on our team. We've let people go because it was bad experiences and stuff. And so it's been very intentional that way. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just from afar, I look at Calgary. I'm like, what the hell's going on there? All you guys are killing it.
Yeah.
Steve, you got a question?
Yeah. Are you finding that I'm assuming you're getting a ton of business off of YouTube. Are you finding that business is the easiest business you've ever done?
They like us the most.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's one of those things that, yeah, they do. Like, it's not that necessarily the easiest business. I mean, your sphere, who typically can be the easiest, is sometimes easier. But I do know that people have referred us more who we've never even worked with because of that trust as well. So, so that's been pretty interesting to be a part of, and starting to get, like, when you're in these coaching groups, you always hear things about like, come list me leads or come buy me, like all those kind of like easy, low hanging fruit. And it's like the golden nugget that every agent's trying to get, and the silver bullet. And I think with video marketing, it allows you to literally, like, how many living rooms am I now just talking to people in? I mean, we're nearing 100,000 video views a month. And actually, between that and our ad channel and a whole bunch of things that we're doing with that, it's about 150, 160,000 views a month. And so it's really interesting being able to just talk to that many people. And what's really funny and what really sucks for Rebecca is that when she's meeting with clients and people that we know and we've known for a long time, they're trying to give her advice because, well, Jared said, and she's like, oh my gosh. Like, she's like, come on. So it's pretty funny. Like,
are you getting like stopped on the street when you're walking with your family now because so many people have been watching you online?
Bit,
yeah. That started happening to me and Steve, and it's such a weird thing.
Super weird. Like last summer, we were in Nose Hill Park, a massive park, and I'm walking with Alex, who's on our team, and his family, and some lady randomly was like, "Yay, I know you! Da da da. We moved here. We haven't bought yet, and whatever. Thank you so much." And da da da. And like it is weird, and my kids make fun of me for it, but that's okay. It's paying for the dance.
I make fun of Tom for it too.
No. Well, it just happened to Steve the other day.
Come on. It did have. I got my first recognition the other day, and I was like, I'm not Tom Storey, right? And they were like, oh yeah, I'll move on.
Yeah, we didn't like that guy anyways.
Yeah, you're the jerk on the right. That's who you are.
Yeah, the guy on the right.
That's right.
Okay, Jared. So we had Derek Timmons on a few episodes ago, and he sells in Airdrie mostly, like I think just outside Calgary. I'm not sure of the whole geography there, but I asked him the same question. It seems like, okay, the rate hikes have happened, right? We all know how this year has played out. The market's not what it was, but like me and Steve in our markets have seen significant decrease in price, significant decrease in transactions, and Calgary is just like still like, what's going on? What's going on? How?
What was Derek's answer?
I don't even remember. I gotta look back. I'm not sure.
Well, we should probably cut that part out. But I'm just kidding.
We leave everything.
We leave everything.
We don't prepare or pay attention, just so you know.
Good. This is wonderful. I mean, it's exactly how I do things.
Yeah. Show up and talk.
Why is Calgary okay? So, man, there's a lot of things to unpack there. So, in the video that we just shot, that you guys are in, which thank you, by the way.
By the way, thanks for boosting our channels.
Yeah, well, I like to what did that guy call it?
He called us pumpers. Pumpers.
And I was like, no, dude, like it's called flexing these days. That's what you do. That's what the kids call it. But what's happened over the last number of years is Calgary hasn't seen the growth that you guys have. And we've if you ever look at the RBC affordability index, right? To me, that is a really great one to understand just general percentages of cost of living for cost of home ownership and all that stuff. I was shocked. I don't know if you guys looked at the September, October numbers, but Vancouver went up to 90%. And Toronto was like 83, and Calgary is still hanging out at 38. And it's crazy because when you start looking at those numbers, you kind of have like higher incomes because of some of the oil industry and some of the tech stuff that's starting up. And even I have a close friend that runs, I'm not going to say the name of it because he's told me I'm not allowed to say the name of it, but it's a big store that we all know quite well. Oh, there's that quite well, and just the amount of tech people that are getting recruited from stores like that is pretty crazy. And so, and then they're paying so much, and so the incomes are really, really solid. So that's part of it. You end up having years of really no growth. And when you guys were starting to take off, you had your blips in the 2017, 16, whatever it was for the different cities. We were just like still hanging out at, like, put it this way. I bought a rental in Red Deer, which is in between Calgary and Alberta. No, Calgary and Edmonton. And we paid I think it was about let's call it 445, about 450. Up down duplex, $1,000 a month cash flow, fantastic little property, brand new at the time. And last year, about a year and a half ago, we put it on the market with our partners, and we're like, all right, let's just sell it. Let's move on. We had it on the market for 435, and we still couldn't sell it. So
this was last year.
Yes. And so what's happening is there's been so many things that have been pushing our values and keeping them down. One of them is the perception, I think, of the oil industry. The other one is that we have a lot of space to grow. So because we were just out in GTA and shooting videos out there and interviewing people, and we met Cam, good guy. And interviewed him, and what I really realized, being born and raised here and spending a solid amount of time, I spent a lot of time in Vancouver, but really not in Toronto. And but understanding now these two markets and just the feel there, the only way you guys can grow is up. We can still grow out,
right?
And so the land value and we're not going to see prices like you guys have. And I was talking to a friend in Kelowna who's also an agent. Same thing. They have to grow up. Canmore up. You can't go out. And all of these areas it just get more expensive for the land cost. And where Calgary can kind of keep pushing out and out and out. And it is a car city, unfortunately. That's what it is. But I think that's a big part of it. And so then when we have these pressures and these jumps of price that are coming in, and people that are now interested in Calgary specifically, you end up having that foundation and that floor price kind of just be still there. It's not like falling away. It's not a false bottom. Like, it actually is continuing to kind of push up. And if you look at Edmonton's numbers on that same chart, if you add it to that chart there, Edmonton actually, let me see my hand here, but Edmonton went up and then it actually dipped down again, where Calgary went up and then stayed for the most part. And so it's not happening in Edmonton like it is here either. So it's really interesting.
So you guys peaked and then kind of stayed there, like you didn't fully drop off.
Almost.
That's crazy.
So what were the numbers in the video? Did you watch our video? I know I said it, but I don't remember it now.
I don't remember the exact numbers.
Well, you didn't even watch it. Let's be honest. You're checking the framing to make sure it looks good.
Yeah. How do I look?
What was it? It was something like
I think it was only like 3% or something. 20,
yeah, you guys were down 20%, and Steve, you guys were 38. Is that right? Is that the number? Peak this year?
No, I believe you asked me to do a couple of different numbers. So there was one from 2019 till now, and we're still up 40% from that. And then currently we're down from peak. I think we're down something like 20%.
Okay, maybe, so you guys are both like around. Oh no, Toronto was 11. That's or something. Anyways,
416. Yeah, core of Toronto was 11.
That's right.
Yeah.
And but like Calgary, we were down like 3.84% from the peak.
If you go back to when you told your team, hey, the structure's changing, this was February 2020, What was the average detached price for a home then versus now? Like, has it gone up as rapidly as well, or was it a kind of like a nice little?
You know what?
And are Ontarians and BC people to blame for rising Calgary prices?
So do I say that now or later?
Well, whenever you want.
No, whenever you want. No, it's here. I'm just gonna pull up actual because again, I like to know the numbers. I would say a lot of it is this. So you have a lot of buyers coming into our city who aren't selling product because they're selling somewhere else, or they've sold it and now they're renting. And so what's been really hard is, there is a lot of people that have come in over the last 2 years who are buying properties. And when it was in the peak, the busy times this spring in 2022, we would have people from Ontario physically say to us, like, yeah, you know what? Like, this is so cheap. I don't really care. Like I know there's like 15 offers on this place and it's listed at 700. Let's just put in one for 8, like whatever. Like, and you're like, what? Like, you keep effing with us. Like, this is really, really hard to figure out. And it was really, really strange. And, but I also really believe that this is Calgary's time. Like, if pandemics didn't happen, we wouldn't have been noticed. And it feels so different than every other time. I know quote unquote recession is coming. I know these things are happening, but there is a constant stream even now. Like, it's not 4 or 5 a day reaching out to us. It's maybe every other day or every day still, but we're still getting a ton of people just like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm doing. I'm planning on doing this next year. How do we strategically figure this out? But like a detached house in 2020 of, let's say
Feb 2020.
Yeah. So benchmark price, there we go, was 429.7 that year, that month. And so we're at 520. Oh, I don't have December's in here, but I think it's right on that 520 kind of number.
Okay, so you're up $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, 25%. Has there ever been in the last 10 years, probably not a time where prices in Calgary were up $100,000 in 2 years? Other than
last 10 years, no. 06, 07, there was.
Right.
That would have been the last time because of, and for us, that was a massive oil boom.
Right. Where this is different this time. A little bit different. Yeah.
There is also other stuff happening.
There is still oil, but yeah.
There's other stuff happening here too, which is, and I've given it thought for the first time of like, I don't know if I can stay in BC for the rest of my life, which I had originally planned. And that is, I went into Vancouver for dinner and it was terrible. The food was terrible, by the way. I'll give you the restaurant later. It was terrible. Don't go there. It's expensive. But like the tent cities now are next level. Like
we were there in September.
It was always bad, but you could always walk through Main and Hastings and be fine.
Yep.
I don't know. Remember, Tom, do you remember when years ago when we were here, we went for dinner down in that area with the whole group?
Yeah, we walked on the waterfront area.
Yeah, after a conference, we went down and had dinner at a Nubu, a great restaurant, fantastic place. That's all tents now. All those sidewalks are just tents. And that is the first time. If you want to check it out, there's a documentary on YouTube called Vancouver is Dying. I recommend watching it. That was the first time where I was like, oh, I might not be able to stay here. Because if this spreads into the suburbs or wherever we are, like, I'm going. And I don't know where's not going to have. I think all the cities might start looking like that. They're not going to, maybe in Calgary and Edmonton where it's minus 35 at night. Yeah. But if the coldest night, if the coldest night is
stop spreading rumors. Stop spreading rumors.
Well, Calgary's not
minus 50.
Edmonton,
actually, right?
Edmonton is that bad. Winnipeg is worse, right? But it like those are the things that a lot of people out here are looking at too. It's not just the economy. It's do I feel safe? For instance, I was gonna take my daughter on down to a Canucks game. after seeing what's going on down there, I'm not a SkyTrain person anymore. I'm not public transit anymore. Not happening. And I think that might be what is pushing a lot of people back to the prairies now, because you guys aren't having that same issue as far as I can tell yet.
Not to the same extent, no. We were in so for my birthday in September, so I had a massive concussion this summer.
Oh, congratulations.
And broke my wrist, and it's been a insane year for us.
Wow.
And
hang on, you can't just you can't go over that. What happened? Did your wife keep you in line, hit you with a baseball bat, or what?
Yeah, she was tired of hearing people saying Jared told me this. So no, we were in Whistler in July, and I was mountain biking. So up the gondola.
That'll do it.
We were in Whistler in July too, Steve.
We were. We did not mountain bike.
We were.
No, smart. Don't do it. Yeah, I was doing the dance dad thing. Girls were at competition, and went biking with a buddy and rented a bike and went to go switch the rear suspension, and the little switch was on the wrong side of where my bike is. So I looked down for 3 seconds and hit this big drop off. Don't remember 7 hours of the day still. Broke. The wrist was falling off, bones were crumbling. And so in September for my birthday, I was we were originally planning on going down to San Diego or something, but I was still just not feeling good. So let's just make it easy and let's go to Vancouver again. But we experienced those 10 cities. It is insane. We went to the fairgrounds where they have some concerts and stuff.
Yeah,
yes. So we were down there. We were staying close to Stanley Park, and so we took an Uber down, went to this little concert, whatever. It was super fun. Our girls' first concert, so it was pretty cool. But then we're coming back, and I'm glad the Uber didn't stop, because for 8 streets, 8 blocks, we drove through it on the way there. And I'm all right, the East Hastings, I got this. This isn't that bad. Whatever. And drive back, and I was actually fearful. I was truly this is scary. And actually ended up watching some of that documentary, because I was what is happening here? And just the cleaning crews that have to clean up every morning, and they don't have the police coming anymore, I read. And it's it's crazy.
This has gotten worse in the past 2 years because of the lockdowns. Is that why it's gotten to the level that it's at now?
I don't know if it's lockdown or if it's just addiction in general. I mean, it's getting bad everywhere. The whole West Coast, Seattle is like that, Portland's like that, LA's like that. So I don't know.
Doesn't Toronto have some of that too, under some of the overpasses and stuff too?
We do, but it's more hidden, I guess you could say. You don't see it as much. And it also does
see the propane explosions.
Yeah, that happened recently, actually, under a bridge.
Yeah.
And also it does get really cold here in the winter as well. So you don't visually see it as much as you would in Vancouver.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. It's insane. So anyway, getting back to the I think that is areas that don't have that are going to get an influx of people that don't want to live around that. Right? They're just going to happen. And it was weird, where I just figured my whole life, this is where I'm going to be. I love it. Everything's fantastic. And that was the first time I looked at it and gone, crap, I might have to call Jared and see what's going on out there. Because honestly, I don't know that I can stay here long term.
Yeah. And I don't think it's better anywhere in interior BC either. I mean, it's going to be a lot less, but you still have those warm winters, and it's not as bad, right? I have a friend in Kelowna, and I think, I mean, you still have some of that happens there too, but it won't be to that extent. But
with the people that you had mentioned before that were coming to Calgary and saying, "Oh my God, these prices are so good, let's just throw in this offer." That makes sense when everyone can work from home and work from anywhere. And are you finding now that the people coming have jobs lined up in Calgary? Are they fully moving their family there? Are they still working elsewhere and now living there? What's that like?
All of the above.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say, out of the people that I've personally talked to, our team has talked to way more, because they'll come in through our website or whatever. And so the team talks to a lot of people, but I have talked to a handful, and or not a handful, but a lot. And many of them, one of them can work from home, and the other spouse is going to find a job. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Or one of them can work from home, And because they have enough equity, the other spouse doesn't need to work because they're going to have a very minimal mortgage. And so those are probably the main situations and scenarios. I've also talked to one guy, and he said, he's like, I'm coming on January 14th, and this will be next year, coming on January 14th, and I'm we'll be looking for a house. I'm like, okay, great. So how long are you here for? Forever. I'm like, forever? You're just coming on where are you staying? I'm just going to live with my buddy, my daughter, my kid, and my wife and me. We're just going to live with my friend until we find a place. I'm like, God, like, can you imagine? Like, I can't imagine moving my family and feeling so desperate for a better lifestyle or affordability or whatever it is, that is what you need to do. And because you have kids too, or one kid, right, Tom?
Yeah, I got one and Steve's got two.
Okay. So but having, like, and again, and I could never think that way before I had kids, but now having kids, it's just like, that is uprooting everything, especially like kids in elementary and junior high and that kind of stuff. And but that's what people are doing, and it's surprising, and I'm just glad we're on the right side of it.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, and we're going a little bit different direction here. One thing that I think all three of us have done in a good way, me and Steve, just because we're simple-minded, and you because you're smart, is that we take complicated things. We take complicated things and we break them down so that the general public can understand them, what we're talking about in our videos. Did you make a conscious decision to do that in your videos? Because there's a lot of people that make YouTube videos that are phenomenal content, but I'm done watching it, I'm like, I'm not quite sure what you just said. When you know you're talking to the consumer, that's something you've been doing the whole time, and that's on purpose?
Yeah. So that is a great point. And I'm actually, so one thing our team is doing is they're starting to do a lot more reels and short content. And we have an in-house media team now. And so we're finding ways to leverage that and have some fun with it. And so what I told them is, if you want to reach the widest audience and have the most amount of people understand what you're saying, speak at a grade 5 level and don't speak any more than that. And so
you're saying Tom and I have to go up 2 grades. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, we're only in grade 3.
but like, and I've one of our mortgage brokers that we work a ton with, and he's doing a lot more video. He'll use big words, and I'm like, you can't use those. Like you have to speak so that your kid, who's in grade 4 or whatever she's in right now, can understand what you're saying and doesn't question any of those words. And so I knew this, but I was like, I don't know if I'm actually doing it. So I think it's like Hemingway app or something, a website like that. You can actually put in your transcript or your whatever you're writing, and it'll give you feedback. And one of the feedback is the level of reading that is what's the words. And I was lucky enough that I did 2 market videos. I took the transcripts, threw them on there, and I did the test, and one was grade 5 and one was grade 6. So I was very happy with that result, because they're like, do you do that? And I'm like, yeah, look, I tried it, I tested it. But it is intentional, because I want people to understand it, and I want them to be able to interact with it. And it's because I don't like big words.
Me neither,
personally.
No.
Like, I don't want to sound smart. Is that ridiculous? But
well, you want to sound like you can, like, that people aren't intimidated to work with you, right?
Yes, approachable. I want to be approachable.
Yeah. I had a Vegas mortgage broker. I run a course for video for real estate agents here in Toronto. We would do these monthly kind of Zoom calls, and the way that he put it, and he blew up in the States, like running big conferences now, and he said you almost have to make content so simple that the first people that are going to see it could never afford to work with you, so that they like it, share it, and the algorithm pushes it to all the other people. I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting. I guess I've never thought about that, because it is just a numbers game, right? It's being visible to more people. Oh, yeah. And like a 5 or a grade 5 kid should be able to watch and understand what you're saying. Yeah, I just I want to commend you on that, because I've noticed that you're doing that and the way you go through your videos and explain things and you show people things, you don't just tell them.
Yeah,
I think makes a huge difference.
Glad you say that. And I say that to our team constantly. So if whoever's watching or listening to this, if you're leading a team and or even just doing real estate or any sales at all, like any service type business, I mean, showing someone, there's a reason in kindergarten we did show and tell. It wasn't just tell, because we would all hate it. And so we have to do both. And that's why we use certain graphs and charts and all these kind of things when talking to clients about home prices and what's going on, because you have to show them. I mean, put it this way, our wives do this to us all the time, right? They make it feel like it's our idea. And by showing a client, they can come up with their own solution. Mm-hmm. And by that solution, it's their idea. And so it helps them come to that conclusion a lot quicker in a better way. So
see, Steve, there's nothing wrong with reading picture books. I'm showing and telling me, as you know.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
As long as there's no big words too, because big words
big words with pictures is still difficult.
So it's bad.
All right, let's get into the topic that everyone has been obsessed with all year, and we've all used to our advantage to make terrifying thumbnails in our videos. We've now had 7 rate hikes, and it's at 4.25 now. You know, it's absolutely gone crazy. And if you have an adjustable variable rate, there's going to be people that are in really bad situations, or people that are going to have to renew. Oh, sorry. People that are going to have to renew in very soon. So what's your thoughts moving into next year? Do you think rates are done? Are they going to keep going here? Like, how's this going to play out? Yeah.
It will definitely play out.
It'll play out. Yeah. So I would like to think, and I would like to hope that we are kind of at a place where, we're kind of at a top. But again, it's not up to us. And I guess the only thing we can control in this situation as consumers, because I'm assuming we all have mortgages on this call, is our response to it, right? And handle that and making really good decisions about that. And so we've made decisions about on our own personal property. It's like, we're doing a lump sum. We're going to do a lump sum payment to keep our target rate at a spot where we're not getting triggered as bad. And we're making decisions that way. However, my mortgage broker that we worked with, she did say, well, would you like to lock in right now? And I was like, are you kidding me? But that's my personal opinion, because it will go down. It will. And it's not going to be here forever. But I mean, it's causing a lot of confusion for consumers too. I don't know if you guys are finding that.
Big time.
Because massive pausing, massive confusion, trying to figure that out. And I think most buyers and sellers just need to get a feel for what's happening, get some comfort around it, and then be able to move on and say, all right, this is reality. But I also think that a lot of first-time home buyers who have never owned a property or have come from renting, they're just going to go, all right, that's what it is. Let's keep rolling.
Totally.
And so it's interesting. It's another massive change. But again, I mean, we're, I don't know, 18, 19 years doing this, and I sound old, but like I've seen a few of these, not so much this one, but other things. And people just have to become okay. People hate like discomfort, right? Don't like sitting in uncomfortable situations. And right now is extremely uncomfortable. As soon as the clock turns over into January, they're going to go, okay, is the recession here? Is this still happening? Are we okay? What's going on? And at some point they're going to kind of go, okay, like we can still live life. We still need to make that change. So let's go figure that out.
Yep. I bought a place for myself recently. I'm closing at the end of January, and I'm very happy I bought now because I got it at a price that's way lower than it was. And I ended up going with a 2-year fixed. Just again, I'm not a fixed rate guy. Steve's the fixed rate guy. I'm always been variable. I was like, you know what? 2 years lock in. Smart. It's a rate I would have like cried at 6 months ago, But right now I'm like, okay, it looks all right. Right.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. So I guess it is what it is. And now we're just becoming more comfortable with it when we're having the conversations. People aren't gasping at their fixed rate being 5.5%. They're going, okay, is that what it is? Well, now what can I buy?
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is making decisions outside of real estate. So for us, like I have my lease for my car up next year, and I'm looking at like, okay, do I release something? Because I'm literally doubling the cost if I go and lease another SUV. I'm like, this is insane. And so looking at the payout of it and going, all right, let's figure out how we buy this out and cut back on other things or figure this out, because that's the smart thing to do. It's going to put us ahead in the future, right? So it's just all of those decisions that aren't just real estate. It's your life and figuring that out. But
Steve, is your car paid off yet?
Truck is paid. Truck is paid, and I have. It's funny. We paid off. Well, both of our vehicles are paid. We got warranty work done yesterday or the other day. That was all free, and
your engine's gonna blow next week.
Dude, I thought the transmission was gone in the wife's SUV, and turns out it was a recall. So free.
Ooh,
that was awesome.
Bullet.
But just like you, Jared, I've got a plan because my mortgage is up for renewal. I am the 5-year fixed rate guy. And I'm working on the plan, but it is lump sum. It's going to be lump sum. It's going to be get it down as low as possible and get this debt off the books. And I don't think many people have considered that in the past. I think I take for granted a little bit how much of a saver and a pay down type of guy I am, and that most people are not.
It's true. Yeah, we constantly look at each other, my wife and I, and we're like, we should have more fun. Like, we're really responsible. But I mean, we should have more fun. But again, it's I don't think people are savers. I think it's this consumer economy and flip into the next iPhone and keep on going. And I got it for free. Well, did you realize you're paying it in your monthly here, right? Like it's tough, but.
Well, we got to do our what is it? Disney Plus, right? Got to get rid of our Disney.
Get rid of our Disney Plus. Yep. And we
will
all
they just announced. Okay. They just announced this morning. You don't have to get rid of your Disney Plus. You can downgrade to the ad included version.
Oh, Disney has that too.
They're bringing it out,
just like Netflix.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
will you still be able to watch She-Hulk?
Is that your favorite show?
Things are going to get really bad when I have to get rid of my UFC Fight Pass. If Fight Pass goes, I'm going to be in trouble.
So apparently now for the new season of Yellowstone, they're like, nope, not on Prime anymore. Pay another $10. Like, what's going on here? How many streaming services are we? Like, you try to get rid of one, you got to buy another one.
I'm done.
You're not watching it.
It's like when Joe Rogan went to Spotify, and they're like, to listen to this in your car, you have to actually pay for Spotify. I'm like, nah, I'm out. Like, it's free. Tom and I fight about this all the time. I pay for
You don't have Spotify.
That is a subscription I do not need. Unless I'm listening to the Tom Storey Show, and then for sure I need Spotify. And then you should like and subscribe on YouTube as well, which we forgot to say at the beginning of the episode, Tom.
Oh, yes. Please like and subscribe. Jared, do you pay for YouTube Premium?
On my personal account, I do, yes.
Okay, thank you. Steve, there you go. 2 versus 1.
And do you know why?
Yeah, why?
Do you know why? There are actually 2 reasons. One is I'm giving away a little secret here, but I have a different account that I do a lot of research on. But on my personal account, I still will watch things.
Are you D-Trend? Never mind. Sorry.
D-Trend.
We've got a commenter. We're trying to figure out their real name.
No, I'm not D-Trend. If you are D-Trend out there, this is not cool. But it's but anyways, but on my personal one, I'll go back and watch things for longer and more research. And I'm just like, and actually now my kids realize that I don't have ads on my channel, so they log into mine. And now my homepage is screwed. Like, I got workouts and kids shows and everything on my homepage, but it's all good.
Steve, I think that's the one you have to give into. YouTube has done a lot for you. It's the best subscription there is.
It honestly is.
Me and Freeland are going to save the world by cutting out our unneeded online subscriptions, and that will pay for our country's debt.
It's true. And just so you can continue living closer to Tent City. That's exciting.
Correct. I want to be as close to Tent City as possible.
It's wonderful.
Jared, we've got like another 10, 12 minutes here. I want to end this on a kind of like a future of real estate discussion, and we'll go inside baseball here. So on the last episode, we had Keith Roy on, and we asked him a similar question. Now he's with RE/MAX, right? I'm with Roy LePage. She's with Macdonald Realty. Those are all established brands that have been around for a while. You have been with these companies, and now you've gone to the cloud style brokerage with the potential downline of income stream. Is this the future, or is it the future for people like you with a huge following?
Consumers don't care.
Consumers don't care. So consumers don't care. Okay, so what about for the real estate industry? Just for the industry.
Why does that matter?
I'm just curious. Like here's the question. So the way I see it now, and I look at these models, and I'm like, that model makes perfect sense for me right now. Is the truth?
Right.
Like seriously, I've looked. We've looked into it. So, but then I think, is it actually benefiting the real estate agents as a whole, or is it just benefiting me because I have a bit of a following? That's I guess the real question.
Sure. So I was I'm going to be very careful here. But like the first group that did this, I would never make a change to, and still wouldn't make that change to. And what made, and I don't want to talk bad about that because I have a lot of friends and people that are in that, and they're doing great, and they really love it, and they enjoy it, and it's fantastic. For me, it didn't fit the same values that I have and our team has.
Right.
And why we made the switch to being independent was, why should we pay them for what I'm already doing or what we are already doing internally? So this is ridiculous. So that was the main switch, right? And being like, this is so expensive being with a brick and mortar mortgage, and so let's just figure out a way to do it ourselves. Which in hindsight was good, a lot of good learnings, but I'm so glad Real opened up, because now it allowed us to keep doing what we were doing, and now you're just inside of this world. And so I don't know, like I personally think, I don't think it's going to be the future. I had someone, it was actually quite flattering. I had a lady reach out from a city in southern Alberta, a town in southern Alberta, who was opening up a brokerage, and she wanted to franchise Chamberlain Real Estate Group. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a thing. Let's chat. But I told her, I was like, we've closed our doors. We're not doing that. We're in Real now. This is what's happening. She didn't realize that. But it really came down to values. And I ended up having conversations with Tamir, who runs Real, and just the values that are there, the people that I know that are in Real, it's extremely similar in terms of how we're doing. The structure is different. You don't have this massive downline, and once you're in your 8th level of blah blah blah, then all of a sudden you level up to a level, and right? It's not what happens. And it's built in a way so that I find it's focused much more around relationships, and that's what I really appreciate. Is it's virtual, but it's different.
Yeah, and you guys already had your own office, right? So you could continue to do what you were doing. Yeah, because I think that's Steve's main thing, right? Is the space.
I have 3 main things, and you're the first person at that brokerage that I'd love to ask and find out here. So one is, you have an office already for your team. Yeah. So you're not just office-less when you change over. So that's good. That would be one of my main concerns, because I am here in the office right now, and that's where I spend most of my time. I have 2 other questions, though. If I got to speak to a managing broker, particularly in BC, where everything is regulated. This is actually, I think, going to be a massive issue for online brokerages in BC because the regulation is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like physically, if I need to talk to a broker right now, what do you do?
Yeah. So BC, they're going to have the head broker in Victoria. And I don't physically ever talk to our broker in Calgary because he's in Calgary. So there's a guy in Calgary and the backup guy's in Lethbridge. And so it's going to be someone in Victoria. So I wouldn't want his job.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's
put it
just
that
so
way.
yeah, totally. So you do
But
have
it's-
that.
Oh yeah.
But here you also then, for instance, that is joining a totally different real estate board. It's a whole ordeal, right? So that's one thing that's holding me back. The other thing, and this is a very practical question that only agents are going to get.
Yeah.
What the hell do I do with my deposit check?
It is so wonderful. And I'm not even joking. The app, you can literally take a deposit, like you deposit your check for your bank account.
You can do that with a bank draft?
Yes.
Wow.
And then I just sit there with a bank draft just in my pocket and it's been cashed technically?
Legally too.
Okay.
It's really great. Yeah, so they just rolled that out over this summer, and we kind of got in just before they did that. So we saw it was before, and it was frustrating. But they just rolled it out. Canada was their first whole test thing for this app, and we were in some beta tests because of the size of our team and stuff. And yeah, it's been great. And so we give our agents options to either collect it themselves. They can either do that. They can go directly. So the buyer can actually go directly in Alberta anyways, go to BMO, I think it is where the trust account is. And the buyer can deposit directly into that. Or they can bring it to the agent and the agent can just throw it into the trust account through the app.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's for if the people out there at the top of your brokerage are listening, it will hold people back by having people in in Victoria, because it's so far out of where the market is. And then I worry for any BC brokerage right now because the regulation is insane and stupid. And they're only, I think when we were talking with Keith, I think we're upwards of 22 pages of disclosure now to list a property. Contract only 6 pages long, but your disclosure and property disclosures and consumer disclosures and non-represented consumer disclosures, and it's insane. And they're only dumping more on. Yeah, we've got. So if I'm accepting an offer, just so you understand, in BC, I've got a let's call it 5 or 6 page contract.
Yeah,
I have 2 pages of disclosure about the commissions that I'm charging. If you were to accept this offer, not if you do accept this offer, if you were to
in the conversation that we're having, because we're talking about it now.
Yeah. Wow. Should you accept this offer, this is how much I would charge. I know you're going to counter at $300,000, but should you accept this one, this is how much. So it's just like continuous pages of disclosure on top. And I'm worried that without in-house brokerages, for instance, one of the next things they're looking at in BC is to limit the amount of licensees under a broker, which means you need something like 250 new brokers overnight if you're going to do that. And the average age, I think, of a broker in BC is 67 years old, right? Like there's no interest in doing it. So I don't know. I struggle with it. I love the idea as an overall.
But then that's the other side of that coin too, right? Is there's no interest in doing that. So if there is those that are interested, how can that be done? And I guess that's the entrepreneurial side of me, is instead of getting caught up in like, it can't be done this way. It's kind of looking at things going, well, then how can we? And how do we figure it out? And maybe the solution is just move to Calgary.
Oh, trust me, I think that would be it.
It sounds like a lot of people have made that solution, or come
a
to
lot of people.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can do 4,000 deals a year because you only have 2 pages of contract and you don't have to sit there for 8 hours and do disclosures. Like the people that gloss over when I'm like, oh, by the way, we've got to talk about this and this and this. Oh, it's insanity. Anyway.
Jared, final question. YouTube. Me and Steve love YouTube. You've gotten really into it. That's how we met, which I think is awesome. The question that I do not get, I get asked so frequently by other real estate agents is, Tom, how do you come up with your video ideas? And what I tell them is, I type in Toronto real estate to Google and I click news and I see what the headlines are and then I talk about it. What's your structure to figure out how to talk about or what to talk about?
So I do that. Like I definitely look at some news articles, but I try to put those into market updates and kind of like talk about market, because I'd rather also have other topics that are a little more evergreen versus like news in the minute. And so we've come up with a plan for this coming year where now I'm giving away some things, not everything, but the plan is to talk about 25% of the time to people who are moving to Calgary, but talking to 75% of the time to people who are in Calgary, and finding that balance, because it's very easy right now to talk about the news because everyone's talking about it. But the power of YouTube is the longevity. It's like an encyclopedia. And so you have your browse, your suggested, and your search when people are looking for things. And this is where traffic comes for your videos. And your browse is typically on your homepage. Suggested is like up next, and then search is keywords. And so for me, it's finding that balance of things. So if you search Airdrie real estate on YouTube or Airdrie Alberta, you are going to find a couple of my videos. If you search certain things, homes for sale, this, that, detached, like whatever, like you're going to find our stuff. If you search community names, you're going to find our stuff. It's really because the competition is so less than SEO and pay-per-click, it's easy. And then you just have to figure out how to do your thumbnails and your titles to like get people in, and how to do it, and don't do all the scare tactics that everyone does, but like have a little bit of extremes in it. So then people are like, what is this? Right. And so that's those are my thoughts.
I mean, I think if real estate agents would actually be consistent, getting yourself on YouTube and talking about the market is your unfair advantage. No one else is playing in this little ballpark. Like there's a very select few of us actually doing it, and we're getting everything from it. And it's and I think the reason why too is like it is time consuming. Like it takes up time, right?
I think there's two different types of channels for real estate. There's your sexy, let's go look at this house. And it can't be your $200,000 little place. For me, that's still a viable option. But for you guys, it is not, because that's a quarter of a lot, not even. And so, but it's there's those types of people, but then there's education. And I think you have these two different sides, and you kind of have to choose what you're on, because like early last year, I think it was, I was like, let's try the other side. Let's try the property tours. It was damn expensive. Hired somebody. We probably spent, I don't know, 15, 20 grand on about 3-4 videos, and like put a ton of effort, a ton of time, all this kind of stuff. And the only way I could get views is if I paid for them. Like I had to push these videos because my audience wasn't looking for that. And so you kind of have to choose one or the other, and dabbling in both is not going to give you growth. It's kind of choosing who you are and growing with it.
Or having two separate channels, maybe one for just listings and one for educational, right?
Totally. Yeah. You can do that too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been such a fun hour. We really appreciate you coming on here.
Cool.
For the people that have just been introduced to you for the first time, what is the best place to learn more about you, your team, and everything you guys are doing?
Yeah, so you can go to chamberlaingroup.ca. That's CHAMBERLAIN group.ca. And that's our website, Chamberlain Group. You can just search us on YouTube. Go to Google, you'll find us, Jared Chamberlain, but that's kind of where we are.
Okay. Steve, final thoughts?
Links all down below in the description. No, this has been fantastic. Tom wants to say something. Go, Tom.
Well, I'm going to say we're all on a race to 10,000, and Jared's in the lead. So we're coming after you. Okay, we're coming after you.
Man.
Yeah.
What Steve's and he's right now on your channels?
He's about to get that Tom Storey Show bump of 2 more subscribers. So get on there.
I think Steve just passed 7. I'm at like 7.3, but I think you're like a good 1,000 ahead of us.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at about 8. I think it just went over 8.4 this morning.
There you go. There you go.
So,
we will we'll do everything we can to catch up. But whoever the winner is has to buy the other 2 people's steak when we're in town. Okay, so when we come to Calgary, you can buy a steak.
You can have some good Alberta beef. Let's do that.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of the podcast. Have an amazing day. Bye.
Like, subscribe. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate it.
See you guys.